Thank you for joining another edition of the AARP Foundation Experience Corps in your community. My name is O.S. Owen and I am your host. I am the volunteer recruiter for the AARP Foundation Experience Corps program. We recruit those that are 50 and over to be volunteer tutors and mentors for first graders, second graders, and third graders in the Chicago Public Schools. If you love children, if you love to read, then we have a fantastic opportunity for you. Call 312-660-8662, 312-660-8662 for more information. Today, we have in our studios Patricia Andrews Keenan, the founder of Pigment International and the founder of Black Arts Month. This is AARP's Foundation Experience Corps' first guest of the 2021 season. Patricia Andrews Keenan. Welcome, Pat. How are you?
I am very good, O.S. How are you?
Excellent. I'm very excited. We have a lot to talk about. I'm very proud to have you here, to be here with us. A lot of founders find things, but they're not as memorable as what you found. So let's kind of get right into it. And before we say anything else, this is fantastic. This is fantastic publication. I just simply love it. Talk to our audience regarding the Black aesthetics and how it influences the mission of both Pigment International and the Pigment magazine.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having us. You've been a great supporter. We've known each other for about a year now, and we've already done, this is our second.
Longer than a year.
Well, for the Pigment information.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Okay.
Yes. So first off, I wanted to thank you, and I appreciate you guys supporting us. So Pigment International was founded in 2018. Our goal was to work with artists, collectors, curators, others in the Black art ecosystem to help elevate their presence, tell their stories, and encourage people to purchase art. So we do this through arts journalism. I'm a journalist by training, by profession. I spent my career in corporate communications in the cable television industry. I've done PR and media for individual clients, and I collected art. So for me, this is kind of the intersection of all the things that I've done throughout
all of your
my
hobbies
career.
come together.
All my hobbies came together.
Yes.
And so we formed Pigment in 2018. We worked with a group of Chicago artists. We did events. We did corporate events at the Hyatt. We did events at BMO Harris Bank. We did standalone exhibitions at the Smart Museum. We held talks. And at the end of 2018, we took a group of artists to Art Basel in Miami, and we created our own show, which was a beautiful event and something wonderful.
Well, see, that's the bold entrepreneur in you. to take something and create something out of it. You took an idea and you took it all the way. To even have your own event. That was epic. That was huge.
Thank you. You know, sometimes you have to do that bold thing that scares you, and it was the thing that scared me. So, and one of the things we knew when we did that is that we wanted something tangible as well, and so that's where the magazine came from.
Okay.
We took that magazine to Miami and we gave it out and we talked about it. We had people that supported us. That it's an ad-supported magazine, so there are ads for different organizations.
Why Miami and not Chicago?
Well, Miami is kind of the epicenter of all things art in December.
Didn't know that. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So Art Basel, we had gone to Basel as spectators the year before, and we went to the different events and we saw art shows all across the city. And we saw people from Chicago, artists, that were just kind of hanging around. And they weren't doing anything but going to parties. And we're like, well, you need to be showing your work. So that's what we did. We took 15 artists there and we put up our own exhibition.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
now,
it was memorable.
So out of that experience, was that the birth of Fine Black Arts Month? Tell our audience about that, please.
Certainly. So as we were working to get Pigment off the ground, we started Googling, we started searching, and we wanted to see if there had been any kind of national or international recognition of Black Fine Art. So I Googled Black Fine Art Month and didn't find a thing. And so we said, well, if it doesn't exist, why can't we create it? So we secured the domain name, and we figured the way to approach it was to do programming. We we picked October because October is one of the longest months of the year. We didn't want February, that was the
strategic.
shortest.
So you're sitting there having this dream. We're going to do this in October because it's the longest month.
And the art season kind of kicks off in the fall, so that made sense too. So beginning in September, there are lots of art events. So we said, well, we're going to pick October. We found a partner, and I think that was one of the most strategic things we did, and our partner was the DeStable Museum.
Okay.
So they've been with us since we launched this in 2019. So Pigment in 2018, 2019 we launched this, and then we had beautiful events at the DeStable for every week in the month of October, 5 weeks in a row. We had people like Fahim Majid. We had Sierra McKissick. We just had Hakeem Mahabuti join us to talk about his experiences in the arts. So we had a wonderful group of people in the arts. We talked about the Black art movements that came out of Chicago. We talked about women in the arts like Dr. Margaret Burroughs. She's always been kind of an inspiration for me. We are both from New Orleans, so I take that as a sign. Another famous artist, Mel Lewis, who is now in her 90s, is from New Orleans. So for me, that said something, that these women who came from the same place I came from created great arts organizations that have been sustained all these years. It's like, why can't I do this as well?
Well, this is fantastic. And I've always been a fan of the art, but never an artist. And I think we're all an artist in some shape or form.
Absolutely.
And being involved in this has helped me to realize my artistic flair. Now, let me ask you this. Why is Black art so important? I mean, if I'm a Martian and I come to Earth, one of the first things I'm going to look at is the art, the writings, the poetry, the music, because it reflects the history and the culture.
Well, I think you answered that question.
I answered it in my way, but as an artist, tell our audience. I mean, it's a history, it's a story, it's a passion, and you're trying to convey your passion in an art form.
Really. I think for me, it kind of started, I'm like most people that grew up, born in the 50s, raised in the 60s and 70s, when the art on our wall was a picture of President Kennedy, a picture of Martin Luther King, and a picture of Jesus. So when I got of an age, I started looking for those images. And for me, it started going to flea markets and looking through things like old sheet music or old pictures, and I would frame those and hang them in my house. And
Any of the black light posters,
I had those in college. I did have those in college as well. So, I grew up during black exploitation years. You think about Melvin Van Peebles just passed away. A great loss for us. But then I got a little more sophisticated, and I remember literally watching television in my first apartment, and they had a thing where the U.S. government was, for $10 you could buy these posters, and they had ethnic art, and it was Jacob Lawrence, it was Romare Bearden, it was Vonetta Honeywood, and I bought those posters and I framed them. I still have some of those. And then as I got a career going and I had more disposable income, and I started buying prints, and then I started buying original art. And I never visited anywhere in the world where I didn't buy a piece of art.
Well, see, that's something you said, original art. I would pick up prints, and our producer, Black Butterfly, encouraged me, get the original.
Get the original.
Get the original. And I didn't understand the value, at that time. Are you a trained artist, by the way? Do you?
Oh, no. I write.
Why?
That's what I do.
Why not?
Well, I've never tried, really. But, I'm artistic in my own way. And the writing has been a big deal for me. So I've done that my whole career.
Now, so has art been something that you grew up with as a passion? Because this just didn't happen overnight. This was years and years of culminating.
It was years in the making. It was. And again, like I said, we didn't really collect art in my home. But, when faced with my first place, and I looked at the walls, I wanted something that reflected me. And I think that's why Black art is important. Every culture wants to be reflected. And heretofore, we've had to look at what people have told us was beautiful. Michelangelo's David, or pictures, religious iconography, or classical iconography. That's what they display in museums. But we always knew we were beautiful as well. So why not put something that reflects who we are, where we're from, and shows that as well?
Now, you've chosen the term fine black art.
Yes.
Is that a distinction between art?
Well, I like to think so. When we talk about black fine art, a lot of times we're talking about things that could possibly be in museums or hang in galleries.
That category. So now you've got sculpturing, you've got oil paints, you've got watercolors, you've got textiles, you've got mixed mediums. Are there any other different genres of art that we should know about?
Absolutely. So all the things you mentioned, acrylics, oils, sculptures, there's multimedia art, if you're familiar with Jacob Lawrence. And he did collage where he cuts out things, yes. But when we look at today, because we have three pillars at Pigment, we talk about art, innovation, and curation.
Yes.
When I think about innovation, nowadays artists are doing NFTs. Those are non-fungible tokens that live in the crypto world. So they could create a piece of art that you don't touch or feel, but it lives on a blockchain, and people could buy that. We have artists here in Chicago who are doing that right now. They had a sale of crypto art at Christie's auction house. So, art is only limited by the imagination of the artist, I think.
I know I was at the Contemporary Museum of Art, and it blew my mind because it was a picture of a monitor, a computer monitor, with a hole punched in it.
Right.
And that's art. Well, I thought it was more abstract.
Okay.
And they were trying to explain to me. And by not being trained, by not being exposed to the art world, I was just fascinated by anything could be art.
Anything could be. We have a saying, one of my friends and I, Devora Crable, who helped start this with me, we used to say art is anything you can get away with. Right now in Chicago, there's the Banksy Exhibit. Banksy is an artist no one has ever seen because he comes in, he paints at night, and then you see the work the next day. So, some people use gimmicks and become very successful with them. KAWS, I hear a lot about him, KAWS. There are balloons. Damien Hirst does, objects. So, but it's all about what engenders a passion in you. What do you relate to? And that's when people ask me about buying art, I say buy something because you love it. Okay. And that's the first and only rule that I have, because if you love it, you're going to live with it. Some people buy for investments, and they pick, blue chip artists who have names, who are museum collected, who have been trained at certain schools. But I will tell you, I was at the other art fair over the weekend, and the piece that spoke to me on the wall had been done by a high school student who is now going to Pratt. I bought that piece because it spoke to me. Now, will he become a famous artist one day? I certainly think so, because I think I have fairly decent taste, but it's what spoke to me. So first and foremost, always get what speaks to you.
Now, I live in the Hart Park community, and I've been seeing the hearts.
Oh, the hearts.
All around town, and just one night they weren't there. The next day they were there, or maybe I just noticed it.
Right.
What is that, and can you comment on that?
Absolutely. Well, actually, Cosette Wilborn created that. She has an organization called the Love LUV Institute, and she wanted to engender feelings of compassion and love in the community. So she got artists to paint those hearts, and they're in Hyde Park. They're in some other places in the community. But, I highly regard and respect her. She also does wreaths during Christmas, and they're called Love Wreaths. I bought the wreaths from her. Oh. But, she is a true community builder, and that's how she chose to build.
When I saw it, I laughed, I smiled. It gave me a great feeling.
And that's what it was supposed to do.
Who pays for that? Did she just come out of her pocket and say, "I'm going to make this donation," or what? Because it looks very expensive, and the ones that I saw were quite few.
Okay, and I couldn't say how she did that, but I'm sure it's much like what we've done here, to jumpstart this, the money came out of my pocket. As we grew, we got donations from people. As we grew a little further, we got a nonprofit status, and we were able to get foundation grants. Pigment magazine last year was underwritten by the Joyce Foundation. This year, the Field Foundation has given us money. So the Artwork Fund of Illinois. So I'm just very thankful that people see value in something that we created.
How can you not? So we talked about the art, we talked about the innovation. What's the curation?
The curation is how you put together. So you joined us for an event,
Yes.
the Kickoff Black Fine Art Month.
Yes.
So for
And that
me,
was fantastic.
that is a well-curated event. The backdrop was in the DeSable Roundhouse
Yes,
in
yes.
front of the Kira Walker exhibition.
Uh-huh.
The speakers were amazing. We had Leanne Trotter, who is with the NBC5 Chicago. So for me, that's curating. That's how do you put together something to make it look and feel as beautiful as the thing that we're talking about.
So since you brought that event up, and in fact, would you hold up your T-shirt, please?
Oh, absolutely. So this is our Black Fine Art Month. It says October is Black Fine Art Month, and we are in our third year of celebrating it. So.
And that's fantastic. And that's a very, very nice quality T-shirt. I actually like that.
Thank you.
So now, on this past Friday's program at the DeSable's Roundhouse, what are some of the takeaways from the Gerald Griffin and the Dr. Robert Hansard and the activist Dwight Wright's presentation?
So the conversation we've been having is missing history. We know coming out of the racial reckoning in 2020 that people wanted to pull down statues that they don't feel represent them. They may be defacing them, but what we're talking about is what goes up in place of those and how do we represent a fuller, complete picture of history. Gerald uses a great example I'll share here. He said, Thomas Jefferson, one of the founding fathers of the country, nobody's going to, just disregard that that's what he did. But there's another side to that story.
Yes.
And it involves Sally Hemings.
Yes.
So why can't we have monuments that also speak to her and her family and their place in history? And I think one of the big takeaways from me is that we have to put those monuments in the public square where we all congregate. We can't say, oh, you're African American, so this monument should just be in an African American neighborhood. No, it needs to be in the public square where we can all talk about it. If we take John Baptiste Point DeSable as an example, there is one monument to him down on Michigan Avenue. It's very small.
About this side, and if you blink, you'll miss it.
Absolutely. But he is responsible for being the first settler here in Chicago. So that monument should be somewhere where everybody can see it, where everybody can discuss it. You notice right now we're coming up on Columbus Day.
Yes.
So there's a big conversation about turning that into Indigenous Peoples Day. I think the city may have done it, maybe the county hasn't done it yet. Mm-hmm. But we have to be more inclusive of our history. So that's the conversation we were having. And I love it because Professor Hansard gave us kind of a historical look at that.
Did,
Gerald is a seasoned artist who's been doing this work for years. We also had Dwight White, who was a young activist who was doing murals during 2020. And he was part of the Black Lives Matter movement. And we really want to stress that we embrace our young people. We want to support them. And artists can be of help in creating this full story of history.
And so much art has surfaced since the racial recognition. I mean,
yeah.
I've seen murals, I've seen graffiti that I even now have a different kind of a respect for. And when I drive through Pilsen on 16th Street, all that beautiful work and all of these stories that people are telling. And I guess I'm just sorry that it's taken me this part of my life to really embrace that and appreciate it. And I want to be able to help uplift and spread the word about Fine Black Arts Month.
Well, I really appreciate that. I think we all do. And here's our little Black Fine Art Month. I want to make sure
Okay, I'll
you
put
have
that on.
one of those as well.
If you're just tuning in, we are here with Patricia Andrews Keenan, the founder of Pigment International and the founder of Black Arts Month. My name is O.S. Owen, and I am your host, and I am the volunteer recruiter for the AARP Foundation Experience Corps. We look for those that are 50 and over to be volunteer tutors and mentors for first graders, second graders, and third graders in Chicago Public Schools. If you love children, if you love to read, if you're looking to increase your sense of purpose, we have the fantastic volunteer opportunity for you. Give a call at 312-660-8662. 312-660-8662 for more information. Now, we've got a few minutes left here. So, what should our viewers know about the upcoming Pigment events or features? I mean, today is what, the 5th, 6th, the
Today is
first
the
week.
5th.
You've got 4 weeks left. Share with our viewing audience what Pigment has in store.
Certainly. So one thing I really love about this year is that we partner with a lot of different organizations. This Friday, Diaspora Rhythms is hosting an event where they're talking about collecting art. They are an organization that has been around for a really long time that focuses on collectors. And I love it because everywhere I go, I meet them. Also on Friday, Phi A Gallery in Bronzeville on 43rd Street. She is hosting 3 African artists that have come over from the continent, and I'll be there with them. We'll be having a conversation as well, Phi A Gallery. Then next week, again, I tell you we picked the longest month in the year. So on the 15th, we are doing an event at the Cliff Dwellers. The Cliff Dwellers is over 100 years old, and it's an arts club, music, readings, books, art. That's, people who are in that field are members of that club. So we are taking a conversation very similar to what we had at the DeSable to the Cliff Dwellers, but I'm very excited because we have Gerald Griffin again, but we also have Michelle Duster. Michelle is the great-great-granddaughter of Ida B. Wells and spearheaded the efforts to put a monument to her great-great-grandmother. 37th and Langley, I believe is the address, 3738.
Yes, and tell us, how did that come about?
Oh my goodness. So they have a committee that has been working on that for years. I don't know all the details of it, but that monument actually went up this summer. I was very pleased to be among the crowd outside to see it go up. It was done by the famed international Chicago-based sculptor Richard Hunt, who is nearly 90.
Yes. And for him to put that together, do you have any idea how long it took?
Oh gosh, no, I'm trying to we will find out though, because we're going to have a conversation we're going to talk about a little later, and we'll get some of that detail. And the other person joining us is Ernie Wong. Ernie Wong, he's the principal of Site Design Group. I'd like to liken him to Louis Sullivan, the person that did the landscaping in the parks here 100 years ago. Well, that's what Ernie's company does. They put together landscapes, big landscapes all across the world. Ernie and I actually met on a trip to China more than almost 20 years ago. So he is on the Monuments Committee for the city of Chicago that is considering what happens to these monuments. So the 3 of them are going to be in conversation, and it was just confirmed that Perry Ermer, who is the CEO of the DeSable Museum, will be moderating that conversation, and that's on the 15th. And then on the 21st, we will have a conversation that is virtual, where we will have muralists here talking with muralists in Mexico. We struck up a relationship with San Miguel Allende, a school in Mexico that is known for doing murals. And what was so important about that is that people in Chicago who know the Wall of Respect that went up more than 50 years ago, Bill Walker studied muralists in Mexico. He and some of his fellow artists studied the mural movement there. So we wanted to bring that kind of thing back together in this date and time. And so the person who actually collaborated on a book about Bill Walker, her name is Rebecca Zorich, and she's at Northwestern. She's going to moderate that virtual conversation.
Okay, now that's just the 21st. What else
That's
you got?
the 21st. So, and then we get to the 22nd, and our partnership with AARP Foundation Experience Corps.
That'd be me.
That would be you. And we're going to actually get to talk to Richard Hunt. So
Yes.
some of those questions you have
Yes.
about how long, how did that happen, I'm on pins and needles to learn as well.
Well, actually, we're going to have excerpts of the 1993 interview with Studs Terkel. And Studs Terkel interviewed him in that studio, and he's still there. So we're going to take the past and then bring the present together and intertwine them to see what we come up with. Now, where can people find your calendar? Where can people go to find out more about Fine Black Arts Month?
So you can go to www.blackfineartmonth.com, and we'll have a calendar. When you first go in, you're going to see our most recent upcoming event on the 15th. But if you scroll down, you'll see the full calendar, and we'll have different pictures from the events that we've done as well. So www.blackfineartmonth.com.
One more time.
www.blackfineartmonth.com.
Now you have a mixture of virtual and in-person events.
Yes.
Do you have to register for these events?
Some events, yes, and there'll be a link to tell you where we have registration. We have Eventbrite registration, so that'll be there as well.
You know, this is just a wonderful educational opportunity for us all. Art is not just Black history, but it's the world history. And you've got world art, Black art, Latino art. You have different arts that make up world history, and they all tell a story. And the art that I've seen recently has spoken to me, that's been encouraging, that's been uplifting, and it's acknowledged the things that I wasn't aware of. It's bringing me together with other people. I love the hearts. Real quick here, you remember the parade on cows?
Oh, yes.
You know,
that came out of the Department of Cultural Affairs and Special Events. Lois Weisberg was then the commissioner.
Was the motivation to drink more milk, or, cows?
Well, I think the motivation was to get people to coalesce around something, and everybody wanted to see the cows. So anytime you can do that, no matter what kind of art you're interested in, I think you want people to think differently or to see things differently. And art can help you do that. It makes you, who would have thought? But that was one of the most popular things to ever come out of Chicago.
That and those two lions that sit in front of the Art Institute. Those things have got to be, 100 years old?
Oh, absolutely. And everybody all over, if the teams are winning, they put a jersey or a hat on them, and they're recognized for Chicago. So we hope stuff like what we're doing one day will be recognized as well.
Not one
Legacy.
day. You're being recognized now.
Thank you.
I want to continue to encourage you to shine your light, to light the path so the rest can follow. I want to thank you for taking the time to share your inner creativity with all of us. The love and the effort that you put into these magazines is clearly there. It is a desktop piece, coffee table piece to have with my coffee. Once again, if you're just tuning in, we've had the pleasure to be here with Patricia Andrews Keenan, the founder of Pigment International and the founder of Black Arts Month. My name is O.S. Owen, and I have been your host, and thank you for tuning in. I am the volunteer recruiter for the AARP Foundation Experience Corps. We look for those that are 50 and over to be volunteer tutors and mentors for first graders, second graders, and third graders in Chicago Public School. If you love children, if you love to read, if you're looking for a sense of purpose, we need you. We're looking for you. Please call 312-660-8662. 312-660-8662. I cannot leave without saying thank you to our superstar producer, the Black Butterfly, one of our long start volunteers. He volunteers in the Chicago Public Schools. He's been in Inglewood ever since he started for the last 5 years, and we could not have done it without him. I want to thank the staff and the team over here at CAN TV. Sylvia, thank you so very much. It has been my pleasure to be here with all of you today. And once again, thank you, Patricia, for your gift. Please go to
www.blackfineartmonth.com.
We hope to see you at some of these events. Continue to be the best version of yourselves. Until next time, this is AARP Foundation Experience Corps in the community. So long.